What's going on, everybody? My name is Colton, and welcome to Week 1 NFL Picks Against the Spread. Excited to be back. Unfortunately, Zach, Cody, and Nate are not going to be fully available this season for the Cover 4 podcast, so I'm riding solo here to begin the season. Hopefully, we still get some videos out later down the stretch. But we're still going to pick every game against the spread. I am using the ESPN site here just because you can clearly see the two picks I already made because I'm filming this just before Sunday, not before the Thursday and Friday games. So I wanted to be transparent about that so you can see. Now let's take a quick look back at last season. So last year, I ended up going 148 and 122 overall. Pretty solid year, happy with that, but the locks really fell short. I went 7, 10, and 1 in locks of the week, which was a big step back from the previous season. My all-time record sits at 300 and 237, so a nice solid 63 games above 500 there, and my all-time locks are 21, 14, and 1, so not too shabby either. I'm very excited for this season. Let's dive right in. The Thursday night football game, I did pick the Philadelphia Eagles at -6.5. Cowboys were very much live to win that game. If CeeDee Lamb didn't drop a few of those passes, I mean, we could be looking at a Cowboys upset victory. And I did take the Chargers down in Brazil. I was very confident in Justin Herbert's ability. I thought they would kick off the year right, and they did just that, and they got the win in South America. So the one thing about this, these lines are a few days earlier. Like they of course release it to the public on a certain date. I know the Cover 4 podcast, we usually just take the lines from when we're actually filming, so a little bit different in that regard. But if there's something really drastic on how I feel with the line, there's nothing this week. All the line movements, I would still take the team I'm riding with. The picks I make here, I am locked in and I am committed to these teams. So let's get right into it. I also will try to do a little bit more fantasy football this year. Couple comments, couple props maybe, couple little things like that, more player related. But let's get started with the Buccaneers at the Falcons, an NFC South game to open up the year. I am taking, as you can see, the Buccaneers minus the 1.5. It does worry me on the road in Atlanta. I think it's a tough place to play, a tough place to open up your season. Michael Penix is going to have that crowd buzzing, but I've kind of listed out my concerns about the Falcons. I'm worried about their defense. I'm not sure how they're really going to come together, especially in the early part of the season. So I believe that the Bucs are going to roll in there, get a win. I think it's going to get a little bit high scoring. I could definitely see this going over the total. One prop I really love is Igbuka's over. I think honestly, any of the offensive starters in this game are pretty good bets. Everybody's going to be moving the ball pretty well. Of course, Evans, Bijan, Drake London, all those are obvious starts, but also guys like Darnell Mooney probably have a decent day if you're looking at those flex spots, and I definitely recommend Igbuka over. Then we got the Bengals at the Browns. I am going with the Browns plus 5.5 at home. Kind of just riding the trends at this point. The Bengals notoriously start the year poorly. They struggle in Cleveland. I think they're eventually going to get over that, but in this spot, Joe Flacco, I've been saying, probably leads the Browns to a little more competitiveness early in the year before they make the switch over to Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders. I think this is a spot where I like David Njoku anytime touchdown. You can currently get that on FanDuel at plus 250. I don't know, the Bengals, it's a big focus of the Bengals of starting out the gate hot this year. I know there's so much focus on that. I just think 5.5 is a little bit too much. I'm going to take the Browns at home to keep it close. I do think the Bengals sneak out with like a field goal win. I think they get over the demons of going to Cleveland and really struggling, but ultimately, I think, again, the 5.5 is just a little bit too much for my liking in week 1. Then we got the Dolphins and the Colts. This is a pick-em here. I'm taking the Dolphins, a team that I have grilled relentlessly about how I think they're going to be very poor this season. But in Indianapolis, Fast Track Dome, this is the type of game that the Dolphins are made for. They get the ball to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle early and often, quick throws. The Colts defense isn't anything to write home about. They're not elite. They're not horrible either, but I don't trust Daniel Jones on the other side. They're going to have to run the ball a lot to Jonathan Taylor. If they can get that started early, I could definitely see this being like Colts up 14-0 early. Like I can picture it in my mind. That's why originally I was really struggling when picking Miami on the road here, but I'm going to ignore that feeling. I'm going to go with Miami on the road. I just think the offense is better. I think they're more equipped to start out at the gate fast. I do like Tyler Warren in this game. I think he'll get plenty of looks. I think he's going to have a tremendous season all around. So definitely start him. And I also am a big fan of Josh Downs. I think Daniel Jones might struggle, but Josh Downs is a guy that I really like. Then we got the Raiders and the Patriots. This is one of the more significant line movements just because here it's the key number of 3.5. It is now down to, I believe, 2.5. I'm going with the Raiders regardless. I have the Raiders winning this game outright. I think at the end of the season, the Patriots will find themselves better than the Raiders, but to open the gate, I think Geno Smith is more equipped with weapons than what Drake May has out of the gate. I think that's going to take more time. I love Travion Henderson, but this is a brand new scheme over there, brand new team. You could say the same about the Raiders. I understand that, but I just think there's a little bit more veteran leadership there. Love Mike Vrabel. I think this one goes to Pete Carroll and the Raiders on the road. All right, this next one is tricky because this line has jumped around quite a bit. It is plus 3.5 here for the Saints at home. I predicted the Saints to get 2 wins in my division predictions video. With that being said, I don't trust the Cardinals a lot on the road in one of the toughest places to play. This game just screams like a messy week 1 game. It has that written all over it. I had the Cardinals by a field goal, so the 6.5 made a lot of sense. Take Saints plus 6.5. Here it is plus 3.5. I'm still going to, for the purpose of consistency, take the Saints plus 3.5. I think it's another one of those Bengals-Browns situations. The Cardinals are the better team. They escape with the victory, but I would not be surprised if you look up in the fourth quarter and the Saints are winning like 16-13 or something and just hanging around, making life miserable for the Cardinals. I don't think the Saints are a good football team. I've called them the worst team in the NFL. I think situationally, tough place to play. Week 1, Cardinals on the road. This game just has a perfect concoction of elements to make it feel uncomfortable for the Cardinals, so I'm going to take the Saints at home. Don't feel great about that number, but if you can get it at the 6.5, I would feel much more confident. Then we got a bit of a reunion game, the Steelers and the Jets. Fantasy-wise, I wouldn't really touch anybody from this game. I think it'll be a low-scoring, gross, muck-it-up type of game. I'm going to take the Steelers on the road, minus 2.5. I trust Aaron Rodgers a little more than I trust Justin Fields at this point. If the Jets do find success on the ground and open things up, open some, read options and bootlegs and things for Justin Fields to have success with, I do think the game script could allow for the Jets to potentially gain an edge on the Steelers, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Steelers defense will play quite well in this one. I do think Jaylen Warren has himself a decent day. He's kind of the clear number 1 back to begin the year for the Steelers, so I think his props probably go over. Other than that, man, I would stay away from a lot of people in this game and just kind of hold your nose, and the Steelers escape with a victory, but it's not going to look pretty. Then we got the Giants and the Commanders, and this is one of the tougher ones for me this week. I'm going to take the Commanders minus 6.5, but another divisional game, and week 1's just so unpredictable. It's such a tough week to predict. I'm going to trust Jaden Daniels and company at home. I'm a little concerned that they're overlooking the Giants in week 1. They had such a magical run last season. Russell Wilson, Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy maybe can do some things offensively, and that defense is going to be really good. So the Giants might hang around. I'm going to say I get a late cover here of the Commanders. Maybe they're leading by 3 a lot in the fourth quarter, and then they kind of just score a late touchdown, win by 10, and we get out of here with a cover. Panthers at Jaguars. This number also jumped a point. It's 3.5 now for the Jaguars. I have them at minus 2.5 here, and I am taking them to win against Carolina. I think they can win by about a touchdown. I think the Panthers are going to be a lot better, but I think the Jaguars out of the gate are going to start hot here. Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., look for them to both have good days. There are a lot of mouths to feed here in this Jaguars offense if you really look at it. I was looking at player props. I kind of like the Parker Washington over a catch and a half. He had a good preseason. Brenton Strange is also a guy that you could see sneak into the end zone here. I think there's some interesting props to look at with this Jaguars offense. It's kind of just picking those spots. Both defenses will struggle if you like the over, and I think the Jaguars, you can pick a couple guys out of that pool to have anytime touchdown scores, and I think those are pretty good bets. Next up, we got the Titans and the Broncos. The Broncos 6.5 here. They moved up to, I think, 8.5 at the time of recording this. I don't care. This is my survivor pick of the week, not my lock of the week spread-wise, but my survivor pick. It's the most obvious one on the board, and I'm not going to overthink it week 1. I don't want to be knocked out in week 1 of survivor. Titans are going to be improved, but this is not a spot you want to open up as a rookie. Cam Ward has the impossible task of going into Denver, into that atmosphere, into that elevation against the number 1 defense. It's just a nightmare for a rookie. I can't see how the Titans win this game. I think the Broncos win by 10 to 14 points. If the Titans defense can really step up, perhaps they hang around. I just don't know where the offense is going to come from. I wouldn't even feel great starting Calvin Ridley this week, despite him being the number 1 option for the Titans. All right, next up, another divisional game, the 49ers against the Seahawks. I'm rolling with the Seahawks plus 1.5 at home. 71% on the Niners. That's kind of crazy. Christian McCaffrey already flared up with the calf injury. His status still kind of up in the air. Seahawks just got to play smart here. Got to get off to a fast start. Got to run the ball well with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Make life a little easier for Sam Darnold in his Seattle opener. If the defense plays well enough, I think the Seahawks are in prime spot to start the year 1-0. Also very excited to see how Elijah Arroyo plays. He's a guy I'm very high on at the tight end position. Love AJ Barner too, but from a fantasy point of view and just as a Seahawks fan point of view, I think Elijah Arroyo has a lot of potential in this offense. We get the Lions and the Packers. The Packers are up to 2.5 point favorites. I have them winning this pick'em here with the Lions. The big Micah Parsons addition has gathered a lot of attention. Jordan Love now has a nice shiny new weapon in Matthew Golden. Meanwhile, the Lions are kind of picking up the pieces from losing a lot of guys in the offseason. I mentioned that at length in the past 2 videos I made with the tier list and the division predictions, so nothing changing here. I'm going to go with the Packers at home. I know they have struggled recently against the Lions, but I do think they can get the victory here. Then we got the Texans and the Rams. Kind of a tricky one. I'm rolling with the Rams at home minus 2.5. That number's kind of been flirting on the other side of 3. I think it's right at 3 now. Honestly, this is one of my least confident games of the week. I could see this thing going either way. I do like CJ Stroud in year 3. I just feel like the safer bet is the Rams at home. I think Puka and Devontae Adams pose a bit of a challenge for a fantastic Texans defense. I think Stafford is a guy that will find success here. If he can stay upright, you don't want him taking big shots, especially with the back injury. If he can stay upright, if they can protect him, I think the Rams will do enough in a tight game with Houston, but I think at home they open up 1-0. Sunday Night Football, a great one. Ravens and the Bills. I was back and forth here, but I was more back and forth like a week ago. I've been kind of solidly on the Ravens now. I think the Ravens are going to go into Buffalo and get revenge from the playoff game last year. The Mark Andrews drop. I think he'll have a good day. I think Derrick Henry will run wild. I would take Lamar's over in rushing. I would take Josh Allen's over in rushing as well. I think that's in the 30s or 40s. It's around there, but I think he goes for like 60 rushing as well. I think this is going to get to be a very exciting game. What a treat. Sunday Night Football Week 1. I'm going to have the Ravens to pull a slight upset against Buffalo, although now I think it's virtually a pick'em. And then speaking of pick'ems, we got Monday Night Football, Vikings and the Bears. I will take the Bears to open up the Ben Johnson era with a victory. I've mentioned a lot about J.J. McCarthy and just the fact that I don't really trust him. I know it's hard to say on the other side you trust Caleb Williams, but at least he has a lot of talent around him. The Vikings are still, I don't love their running game. Justin Jefferson is amazing, of course. Hawkinson's a good weapon. Jordan Addison suspended. They're relying on Adam Thielen coming in to provide some veteran stability. Wouldn't be surprised to see this thing go either way, but I am going to take a shot with the Bears. All right, my lock of the week here is going to be this Jaguars game at -2.5. I know I do get them at -2.5 here, so that is beneficial compared to 3.5. But I do think the Jaguars are going to have a lot of success in this game. I think they will get out fast. They will push the ball down the field. This Panthers secondary is not equipped to slow down Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter. So I like the Jaguars a lot. I'll make them my first lock of the week. I know I struggled in locks of the week last year. Hopefully I can rebound a little bit. And so we're going to pull the trigger on Duval in week 1. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video. So happy that the NFL is back. Again, hopefully get to do some videos later in the season with Nate, Cody, and Zach. Otherwise, we will be picking games every week here against the spread. So let me know what you think this week. Let me know your locks of the week, your survivor pool picks, your fantasy breakouts. Let me know all of that in the comments, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks so much for watching.